Hello.
Hey, Satori. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
All good, all good. So these weeks are quite busy for the whole Ethereum uh, ecosystem, I would say. Yes. I don't know if you're close or so, but at least in Europe, yes. Hi, Durgadas. Hello, hello, looking good. uh, how is it going? You're muted.
Oh, sorry. I'm on day 26 of my 30-day water fast. So
Okay. Oh,
I'm
4 more
down.
days.
I'm down 39 pounds as of today.
Amazing. It's, yeah, but I think it's
So
very
yeah.
radical. Is it very radical? Or what
Um,
kind of effect does it have?
um, you're just mostly tired, so it's,
Uh,
I mean, in some ways you feel better. Do you know what I'm saying? But then, it's also true that, I did a 2-hour hike on Saturday, and on the way out, I was like, man, this is great. On the way back, I was just like, you know, it's just worse and worse. And I was like, I'll just make it to
yeah.
the next bench, So I just get to the bench and be like, holy cow! And then I get to the next bench, and I finally got back into my car.
Oh my God. Yeah,
So
it's entirely different energy levels then.
yeah, so
Amazing.
I was just feeling so good, and my
Mhm.
I'm just burning fat so well, I thought, oh, I'll go on a hike. But I'm glad I didn't choose to go up like the other bit, because I was feeling so good at the point. I was like, I should probably turn around just to be conservative. And I'm so glad I did, because
You
I would have
did.
been I would
Okay.
have been hooped. So
Yeah, save
it
something
was
for the way back, right?
also the
But
hottest day of the year so far. It was like
oh
31
my.
degrees. So like, and I didn't bring any water, so that was all together not the best idea.
No. No.
But I look more
Okay.
like myself now, to me. Like when I look in the video, it's like I just look more like the person who I remember
Yeah.
being. So that's great.
They're gonna have to explain that to me. We always or basically, it's about this is not real, transcending identities, the roles, how I view myself or how I think I am, that others think I am. How does
Hmm.
that work? And at the same time, of course, yeah, you take care of your body and so on, and of course there is this balance, or when you're out of balance, right? And it shows in different ways.
Yeah.
How that those two things connect? Like, what is the one that is self-caring and the other one that is more like, you know what I mean? I hope.
Yeah. Well, so think about it just from a physiological process. Physiological
Mhm,
process have psychological analogs and then spiritual analogs underneath all of that. So when I got heavier, right, what I
mhm.
increasingly had was symptoms of inflammation of every kind. Do you know what I'm saying? So the heavier I get, the
Yeah.
more inflamed I am. So not only am I getting fatter, but I'm also experiencing inflammation at every level of so mentally, psychologically, crabbier. My liver's not happy because it can't get rid of everything, and so even like halfway through this fast. I had a week-long period where there was a 6-day period. If you count the amount of hours, I had 56 hours over a 6-day period that I was in crippling nausea. Do you know what I mean? And so it just was horrifying. So I found a guy who was like a water fasting consultant, and he just said, just do 100 calories every 4 hours for 3 days, and you'll be better. And I was. And it changed my whole, and then I just came off of it, and now I need to have any more calories, right? But the reason why that was happening is because most of the inflammation was passing out through my urine, but your body's going to put it wherever there's liquid, so it puts it in your stomach, and so you're just having these horrifying, inflammation things
Oh,
going on, right? So it was just, I mean, maybe the hardest 6 days of my entire life was just having, like 14 continuous hours on that final Saturday of crippling nausea was almost too much to bear psychologically. But you can see that what I was basically doing was, I mean, I'm going through a divorce. There's a number of things going on with me. So
yeah,
there's just an awful lot of, I was 3 months ago, I was maybe in the worst mental state of my entire life, and so what I was basically doing is I was asking the world to show up for me in a certain way so that I could feel better. But the moment I started fasting, that entire operation then reversed from being an outside operation where I demanded everything be the way that I wanted it so that I could feel safe and happy, rather than I just said, well, now I'm just going to work from the inside out, right? And so that's
yeah,
how all spiritual things kind of work, right? So what I
mm,
had not noticed over time, like the frog gradually boiling in water, was that
yeah,
I
yeah,
had
yeah.
been, because of this person I've been living with, that I'd been changing to this sort of demand for an external safety thing because I just wasn't getting it from them, So
Mhm.
so what I'd done is I'd unconsciously flipped from being concerned with my own internal states to being concerned with everything that was outside of me. And
Everything
so
else. Yeah.
and so so that was just the mistake. And so by doing the fasting, it just shone this bright light on precisely that I had been unconsciously moving in this
Yeah.
direction that I had not been aware of. And so that was then, that so yeah, the amount of different effects it's had in terms of my psychology is almost mind blowing,
Mm.
to do it for this long. So I'm really glad that I did it. Um, so
So
it's incredible.
it's interesting because actually this ties back to the conversation at the earliest that ended in Omega, um, or that I picked up at the end of the thread is this um, um, burnout in DAOs. You know, I think number one, I think it's not something that DAOs create, but again, like it comes from people or how should I say it? I think it shows at one point. I think it's good that it shows, as you said, that one is trying to find answers everywhere else outside, right? But and for example, and from such a let me call it run, it's really hard to see, right? It's just creeping in.
Because it's a kind of
Uh,
psychological inflammation
yeah, yeah,
that that
exactly. So you're
is the,
in. Hmm.
yeah.
And then you're in, and and uh, focusing on the body as you did, very extremely. I don't know if that needs to be that extreme, but it is definitely a helper, right? Because it is really just number one, this is where it all starts. Number two, the focusing on the body really has an effect that
Yeah,
gets you out of your mind, right? And that's
because
why,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
because it is a reflection of what's going on internally, right? And
Mm.
so, yeah, I mean, 3 years in this room. I've been 3 straight years. I've been sitting in the
Yep.
same place, looking at the same
Yeah.
thing. It's like I've been in a time warp, and so my body has just gone to hell. But the other thing that came appropriate, and I started on already, but it's just too much to do all at once, is this thing called dopamine fasting 2.0. You can look it up on YouTube. It's like it's supported by cognitive behavioral therapy, and I'm actually bringing it to Gravity to try to create our own methodology for helping people for getting beyond this. But just what starts to happen is your brain, when you start looking at that external thing, your brain starts looking for endless YouTube videos, or they're just, and then by removing food, you remove a major dopamine trigger. So then I started realizing, oh, it's this dopamine trigger thing. I was going to the fridge all the time. In the first 2 weeks, I was like, why do I keep going to the fridge? Like, I'm not eating anything. No reason to go to the fridge. Do you know what I'm saying? So then it gradually clued me into the fact that and so like last week I came to this realization that it's this, I have been dulling, dopamine is good, but I've been dulling my dopamine receptors for so long that here I'm just addicted to this stuff that's here, but then I can't achieve my own goals. I couldn't keep promises to myself. There was all this stuff, and that was all down to the dopamine stuff. So by removing a giant source of my dopamine blunting, then I could see, oh geez, I've been doing that in a lot of other ways. And so I then sort of started on this dopamine fasting 2.0 protocol so that I can and I just started eliminating things, and I did too much too quickly, but so I'm just gradually weaning myself off of that now. So but I think that leads to burnout, because you're not meeting your own goals, and you're like, why am I not meeting my goals? And so it occurs to you so gradually you can't identify.
And it is much more complex, right? I mean, there's much more complex than it comes from many sources, and it's not just, okay, I'm not getting a regular salary. It's like there might be many other sources why that is happening in the first place, and so on. And then again, might just to pick up, and then we can move actually to the agenda points or today's topics. There were a few things that we wanted to discuss, but just, and then maybe we can come back to this later. That about self-organization. Number one, and then in the space that we're in, that starts with self-sovereignty or revolves around self-sovereignty, right? I think many new things that we need to learn, and things that we need to unlearn. It's not just about processes and tools. It's really about how we take care of ourselves and then of our relationships and so on. That's something we picked up on in Omega, and something that is going into the regenerative workflows research. But the more I interact also with other people and so on, it's very complex, very difficult. It's all about communication, also how you talk to yourself, how you talk to people, and also awareness, etc. And then again, coming back to the body is a big helper. Yeah. But beyond that, today actually, and I'm also taking notes in the Omega agenda. So would be great if we have a quick update on the topics that we wanted or that were this week. And from last week, we wanted to synchronize around ethics, ethics research. I think, Marit, it would be great if we use the time to sync. We haven't synced for quite some time because of all the other schedules and scheduling conflicts. And Satori, if you also have some updates from creative flow, anything on the token engineering consciousness library, there I just wanted to update on the things that I brought in. I created from other groups into our Omega Consilience.
Yeah.
And that would be it basically. Go ahead.
First of all, nice to see you, Sebnem. Like, it's been a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've talked with Lydia. Actually, we aligned very well because, like, I was working in a
Yeah.
social movement
Mhm.
research before,
Cool.
and one of the like pioneers of social movement research, Donatella Porta, was the professor of Lydia. So I was like, yeah, I was reading lots of Donatella Porta, and she was, yeah, she is the director of our institute. So, and we discovered that we have lots of common interests. So happy to meet with her.
Superb. Superb. And that's also the current professor that is going to overview her research.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, yeah, but Della Porta is like super famous in social movement studies. She's like Madonna. Yeah. So regarding that,
That's cool.
we decided to work on it together, and I will create time for sure to divide those things. Like even if you that don't get like further, etc. Like that's the thing I like to do. I will spend time. Regarding the Consilience Library, I feel so overwhelmed actually because like there was always discussion, but
Yeah.
not we are not delivering anything. And when I go
Mm.
to like Steward School and other things, I feel like
Mm.
it's like tyranny of structurelessness, and people who saying those are not efficient is like on the point. I feel like because like it's of course like it's a chunk of work, but it's not like developing an on
No,
chain
but
crazy thing.
no, exactly. But that's the point, right? I mean, we wanted to use it to experiment on few other things. However, of course, if people who have been actually contributing to it till now, if they say, it's not working, then sure, let's just pull this together and then we have it, right? Uh,
Yeah.
but about, as long as the people who are contributing uh, are also actively experimenting and have insights, I'd really love to, hold that space that we can use this library version B also to get more
Yeah.
insights on
Yeah.
I think that and two more things to that thread. I think what is working is that getting insights from how to curate. We now have really good stuff in our curation, and it has also become curation from other places. So I have some insights there, but I can harvest that and pull it together, and that could be an artifact, etc. The other
I see.
part, I don't know why you said nothing is happening, because in the creative flow, actually this whole novelty aspect, right? Within the vacuum, Satori and StreamerD are rocking it. Letty is giving input, and I had also managed to come in there once, etc. So that novelty aspect is also
Yeah.
going well, I would say,
Yeah.
better.
First of all, I'm so sorry if I sound like disgrading somebody's work, or like even I'm working it. So I'm not trying to like
No,
disgrade or like saying that oh we are not doing a good work. But I mean, yeah, like we are trying to like experiment. For example, this like game creating a gamification within
yeah,
library. But I feel like
exactly.
it's like too stretching out.
But the thing is that why do you feel that? Like everyone who's working on it, it should come from the people who are collaborating and working on it, and not from. I see myself a bit as a supporter, advisor, a helper, curator, etc. But I don't feel like I want to get in there and say, okay, what are the results? Of course, we can help harvesting and everything. But do you feel you have this reporting duty, and then that stresses you out maybe more than the others who are working on it? What do you think, Matt? Like, uh,
Um, I would interject shortly by saying, I guess first of all, hi everyone. I haven't been around for a while, but I'm back. Um, yeah, I just want to say I just going through the Concealings library thread and looking at the I guess UI templates that Mert shared. I think they were done by. Oh, I'm not sure who they were done by. I think Stefan. I'm showing them on the screen. That was. It made me feel like the wait was worth it for me. And there's cohesion around, sort of like closure. A lot of the things that we've been working on, and that I
Right.
feel maybe there was frustration because of a lack of results somehow. Because I understand that we're working on things that are abstract and sort of like conceptualizing them. It's philosophical, so sometimes it's hard to see like a tangible result. But I really liked what I saw, and it just yeah, I think it's an incentive to keep going, sort of like a feedback into progressing more. Now that we see that we have that template, we can use that to populate. We can populate it with articles, and yeah, it's something exciting, and something that it has motivated me at least. So I wanted to share that.
Cool. Thank you. And also, I would like to hear, where the frustration is coming from, and we should always listen. If the people who are doing the work are frustrated, that's a big, issue to listen out. If the people who are, wanting to interact with the library, curators, learners, there I don't see it. We really need to grab them. So that's for me an indicator, like, okay, we're building this beautiful thing, but for whom, right? Um, these are the things. So it would be cool to say, okay, what is happening, and again, we're using the library to do a bunch of research feeling on other stuff as well. And I would really ask the people who are contributing, collaborating, if anytime, again, regenerative workflows, reflect on yourself. If you believe like this is taking too long, what is taking too long is that we distribute the funds to people who have been contributing for so long, and have, as you see, also create results that are motivating people around the library. So I would rather, the next thing I would love to do, or I would get that going, is how people want to, who have been contributing, are actually taking the funds from the library fund, because as far as I know, no one has ever touched it, right? How do you feel about that? Especially those who have been doing a lot. I mean, Steph is taking a bit of time off, for example, would be great if they have these things sorted out, and then they're back. What do you think?
Well, for me, I haven't been that active lately. Before, I understand that Nick has done a lot of work, a lot of diagramming in the Figma with the I think it was like Archipelago or something, aggregating a lot of the things that we've been working on. I think that's very valuable work. She ought to get compensated. Durgadas has done work since the beginning, like day one, with all the diagrams, all the visual representations that
Yeah, right now it's about the library. The only thing that has a
library.
budget is the library, right? We have not otherwise, and for the whole of the Steward's budget has supported Nick's work at the very least. But that's that. And right now it's about the library. That is one thing that has been going on. And I think, again, I don't know, Satori, if you have updates from dynamic energy budget. If there are any things that we can experiment with the funds, or shall we just go and distribute it or part of it now to the people who have contributed?
I think just distribute it kind of in the way was first suggested, and I think to also to kind of like I think what we're lacking is kind of like a container, like coherency in the sense of like we're in this like in between stage, right? So we're in between the phase one of kind of like wrapping up this is the Casillas library, right? And then this new phase, which is we're not too sure, like, is it the rejuvenative workflow, dynamic energy budget type of evolution that we want? But yeah, I think for me, I mean, because I've been doing some of the, the video editing and my own little organizing of the creative flow
Yeah,
that I see
totally.
that I see what I want to bring to the table is that looking at it like in the dynamic energy budget, like right now we have these emerging workflows, right? The creative workflow, the dynamic energy flow, and the process flow. But what I see as a rejuvenative workflow is all three working together. Like sometimes you need the space, right? That's the creative flow of
Yeah.
I don't know where my space is. I need to go in, or I need to go on my own vision quest, or have my roadmap for myself. And I need the space to do that, where in that middle of the compass is reflecting, and however you want to do it, that space that you need, whether it's like for me, I say sometimes high above the clouds, whereabouts unknown. That's like I need to be by myself and like do my own thing. But that's for everybody. But I think the group there is that space that we need to hold these connections. Then there's the process that we already had the process flow. This is part of the process flow. This is what Nick has been doing. So that's the curating part of what we're doing here. The cultivating this new type of way we want to communicate within this group and work together in this group. And so what I see is that we need to clear up what is the first version of what we did, the V1, and the process of distributing the funds, but also to what we have is the finishing up of what Steph has done. Part of the game is not that complicated because I'm building off of Steph's templates, and it's just importing the content that we already have. So I see like that is very
Yeah.
straightforward. Of about like completing the V1.
Perfect.
But I think moving to the V2 is kind of this more what I think a lot of what attracts us here is this new way of trying to do this new way of organizing, or even with our own selves. Yeah.
Right. And what if we communicated that much more clear? And I think one of Deb's dynamic energy budget pieces is the process. It's in the process, not the result.
Yeah.
I think that resonates with this, right? However, I would suggest really let's make that the feature of version 2, literally, that we also get into this. So I'm game, but again, actually I'm not having at all regenerative workflows. I'm constantly overworking myself. But that's the whole thing, right? How can we in these spaces, in this and it has to be highly asynchronous. But it is working wonderfully in this T Consilience library, the self-discovery game, how it is coming together. Maybe the next thing should be really when we have a next T Consilience library spotlight or so, like the first one we did, and if we do the next one with this, we can, not only talk about, okay, this is version 1, we brought it together, it's a prototype with many concrete hints. What is the novelty? Where is the transdisciplinarity? What are the things we built in that is going to increase connectivity, value of connection, increase value of transdisciplinarity, etc. But then, that maybe 5 minutes, but then the rest really about how we actually managed to work through this, having the archipelagos fractalizing into these workspaces that everyone can come in and jam, you leading or holding space for creative flow sessions, and so on, like that. We maybe highlight why we're so keen on, not just the library, but actually doing this differently, and what is in it for us, what are we learning, and that's, I think, that the in quotation mark pitch, if you will, what's in it for the supporters. You're not going to have just a library to learn crypto economics, overlap concepts curated by practicing token engineers, a place where you have encounters with other learners and those practicing token engineers, but actually also a place that has been built in a certain way, right? That might be actually also helpful. Do you think, and also to the others who've been part of that process, do you think we are in a space where we could actually pinpoint that process? Or you mentioned it is emergent still, but could we try already to?
So it seems to me that something Manu said earlier that kind of so there's this idea that there's practicality and then there's philosophy, and those things were really far apart from each other, and there's no connection. And every time I get philosophical, oh, how is that applicable? The thing that we're actually doing here is very similar to the stuff I was doing at the ashram and everything. It's all about practical philosophy. Everything you guys are doing, dynamic energy budget, Consilience library, every single thing that we're doing in this group is about practical philosophy. And so so if we just keep talking about how practicality and philosophy are really far apart, then we're not actually even understanding the own
Thanks
thing
for that. Yeah.
within that. So I just thought I'd sort of reflect that back, and you guys are doing a beautiful job. But I will say it's also while the approaches are new, the fact that you can meld those two things together is not even remotely new. So I would just maybe say that maybe we're looking at like an evolution of practical philosophy, and it might help actually to realize that there's thousands of years old traditions that have been taking a practical philosophy approach to everything, so that you could maybe find some connectors and some support for the things you're already doing in history. So I don't know if that's helpful.
Just Googled it up. That much helpful. And there is a thing as practical philosophy. Thank you, Together. Okay, yet another rabbit hole. Yay! Practical philosophy. Yeah, it's the practical thinking. Again, I think it's this part of research. I really don't know how to communicate that, or I don't know. Letty, do you have some ideas, or what do you think? Like, for example, this excerpt that you brought in about burnout and tech. And that's not a tech issue. I don't know if it was from tech or another DAO or any DAO. That excerpt that you linked, Letty. I don't know if you can speak.
By the way, we're doing research into that in the psychology and gravity groups, so it would be cool.
Okay, can you hear me?
Oh, we
Yes,
can now.
now we can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me because I'm in the subway and I have an analogy for all of us because I'm trying to get to my destination right now and I was stopped, right? So it's like sometimes in our way we have like these stops, fits and stops, but there is like a direction we are following and we really don't know like how the journey is gonna go, but somehow we have the destination in place and there is like a higher intelligence guiding us. And I think that's the consilience library too, because we are in this kind of pits and stops, and sometimes we don't know how the coherence is going to go and how we are going to organize ourselves. But there is this higher intelligence, right? We cohere around creativity, transdisciplinarity, and everything. And it's like creativity in place. We come in and we give ourselves and we give the best we have, and then we stop for a time. I'm gonna get a stop here maybe for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and I really wanna go to the place I want to go, but then I don't force my way. So I guess we have to do that, and I guess the dynamic energy budget is super good for that because we value the journey and we value our relationships, we value our discoveries and the wisdom we gather, and then we continue. Like, yes, we continue the best way we can. And with the archetypes, I think is what you were referring to, the archetypes and the NFT game. We are gonna do this game gate for every one of us really to come in and to say what is the energy I have and what is my avatar type, and it's gonna be like part of the discovery. And I was trying to do this week with Satori. So we will get this ready, and we have this also for the game, which is connected to the Smithsman PhD, which is great. And it's also like our avatars here in the Consilience Library in Omega.
So basically, also the Soul Self Discovery game that is started as Creation 4 library is actually becoming part of our tooling, or could become part of our our tooling is in helping us to orient in our work, maybe also help us in communicating. You know, if I had an avatar that tells that or this mandala, or I don't know which shapes it will take, but if it told me and you that currently I'm dealing with a lot of stuff and so on, that would be clear. And then if the whole group working on the library, if we saw all of their shapes and current loadings, etc., then we would know, okay, sometimes things are flowing well, sometimes things are stuck, but that, you know, has to do also with the energies that we bring in.
And well, also the practical philosophy and the philosophical are also narrative frameworks that you could say, you know, right now we're working on a very practical thing, or right now the thing that we're working on is to try to make the philosophical practical, so we could go this way, or we're trying to make the practical philosophical because that's what we're doing, and or we're just being philosophical. Do you know what I mean? So that can also be narratively like a social framework, but then we have the archetypes to describe ourselves individually and how we are interacting with that triune system.
Yes, and the beauty with the archetypes is like they are multifaceted, so we can apply those because with Satori, we were talking about the McKenna archetypes, but then we have the Smithsman archetypes, and we're having like our own archetypes in the library, but it's all super connected. So it's like flowing with the energy of our roles, and I find that it's very beautiful. It's a kind of a guidance for for us that have been here like for a long time, and for new visitors to the library and to all our endeavors. So I really like the parallels between the McKenna, the Smithsman, and the library archetypes. And I find it beautiful for the NFT game, which is part of the Imaginarium, right? And disembodied poetics. We need to embody our knowledge and our intelligence, but we have to practice it in a higher realm as well. So I see the practicality, but I also see this higher relationship with the archetypes and the avatars and the intelligence they bring us.
Cool. So, and how do you think now? Basically, I don't know, Mertz dropped off. I'm going to chase them. That definitely clear, or maybe pay out 60% of the budget already, just to acknowledge, right, all of the work that has been done. And the next thing, that can be communicated in process-oriented talks is that we would be working on harvesting, or basically coming to close of the version 1 with an example curation. That will be the Omega collective creation. And setting up this proposal for version 2, and with the rest of the budget remainder, again, people who are working on it and are in need should take, or could use the funds, should take for sure, but it's not much that we can experiment with. But if there was something you wanted to experiment with, like this dynamic energy budget, now we know how these energies are flowing. Let's model the funds to maybe counter flow. Meaning someone who is currently really good is on a roll, and then everything is perfectly working. They might not need the additional funds, but those additional funds might bring someone else who's currently depleting or going through a phase, actually at least help them feel safe to continue working. I was hoping to see from dynamic energy budget research things like this, but I know it's a deep it's a deep one, and I really don't want to go in and then harvest too early. It's amazing what kind of conversations and insights are happening when that thread is active. So what I want to say is, in the proposal for the second version, and if all of you, and that's what I'm hearing, and I would definitely support that we would continue. It would have a developer or development budget, meaning things that we have now designed and know how it should work from a design and creative space, should be specified and implemented with developers. And that should also happen in co-creation, because you don't want some of the things that we came up with might be harder to implement, etc. So that collaboration is also important. A budget for that, and I see two things there. Normally, development works or can work straightforward, especially for something like the library, because even if the experience that you have been designing is extremely novel, also visually appealing, and all of that, in the background, the tooling and frameworks and libraries we found are handleable. Nothing complicated is happening in the back end, or nothing too complex is happening in the back end. So this development process could be really in sprints and business as usual. But even there, we could document. What do you think in the second phase? would this creative flow continue, or would it be just an implementation of what we have come up with now?
I see, yeah, creative flow being like, I think we're already kind of building up stations in a sense. If, but yeah, I think this is part of. I see the creative flow as this emerging thing as well. But yeah, I think me within the vacuum and Streamer D are kind of, we haven't directly said it, but I think as far as our communications and us meeting up kind of regularly, that we're on board to develop this idea of the mandala spores and the roles, and building out that at least, you know,
Right, right.
continue to experiment with that, because we've done
There's
a
still
lot on
the
it already. It
gotcha.
is fun, and so
Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah, yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're on board with that, which
So
yeah,
this whole story, right,
yeah.
about the self-discovery and navigation game that will continue.
Hmm.
I have a question. Um, will the I gotta ask this because the whole, like the whole, the TC has so like shifted in terms of their strategy, given that people are worried that we're running out of funds, etc. So they're trying to find ways to tie the utility of our token to either generating revenue through some other ways or increasing the utility of TC. So I want to ask if the constituency already is going to be open for everyone, or if there's going to be um, like if it's going to be only open to TC token holders, so as to like increase demand, sort of like create buy pressure for the token. I understand how that maybe would go against the nature of the openness that we're trying to inspire, but I mean, I can see arguments for both sides. So I just wanted to ask what sort of like the consensus right now.
Yeah. I mean, at this stage, I see it also as a framing, how you look at it, right? Imagine this is T consonants library is happening, and actual kernel has a nice blueprint that they have started. I don't know if I have shared here already, but it's actually you're providing something that is of value, and if the participants aren't just extracting, but they're grateful for this resource being created, at the least that can is basic. The least that can be done is supporting T Commons. It's not even supporting. It's really saying, okay, this is so useful, and I want to have a share of it. You know, even holding token engineering tech tokens as part of showing ownership, right? The This is the way how I would narrate it, if you will, and not necessarily gating it, or you can only access it if you have tech tokens, but it can be both open as well as incentivized. And I believe, coming to this narration, the experience that Satori and the others are creating can actually help people notice that gratitude, right? And in that moment, when there is a possibility for them to share, I would hypothesize that people are going to support. by holding tech tokens. But that should be integrated, of course, also in the library flow, in the experience of it. Kind of. Did I make a little sense? I
Yes.
see you navigate through the library and then you have this aha moment. And if there is, not just something to mint your aha moment, or minting your aha moment also gives you the opportunity to, hold tech or increase your tech holding. I can see how that works, how people who are moved in that moment and are presented with an expression, with an opportunity to express that, would actually use it. The other way around, you have to buy tech first to experience it. It's tough, right? Because then we need to sell that this experience is great and amazing, and then we're back to business as usual.
I see.
But
yeah.
I totally see it, and I'm just saying it should be designed, and that's the yeah, that's one of the biggest epiphanies recently, that experience design is as much token engineering as engineering incentives in some token protocol, because you're already shaping people's behavior before they even interact with the token, right? That's quite an interesting.
It is quite interesting. Okay, yeah, thank you. So to that and I agree. We don't want to go back to business as usual. So that does make sense.
So, sorry. Just to conclude, basically, and I'm also taking note of that. That would be also part of the second proposal, saying this experience design is also will create connection to tech, and ability for people to own tech by navigating through the library as well.
Hi guys. Just wanna ask. At the beginning, when I came into the meeting, I heard some about certain kind of frustration and so on. What's going on there? Well, why is that? What do you guys think that it creates some frustration in some of the participants of the project?
Well, I want to say that I felt that a while back, like before I sort of like went offline from Omega, but I think, like Durga said, it's practical philosophy, and I really don't have a clear understanding of what's going on with the dynamic energy budget and the other projects. So I really don't want my opinion to echo or like be representative of what this group feels, because I don't think I recognize the emerge, and I was surprised, but I don't think it's valid anymore, or it may have expired, and I don't feel I'm knowledgeable enough to say that there hasn't been any results or anything, given that I'm not privy to them. So yeah, I wouldn't know what to say about that. Other than what Mert said, I don't know. He's not here anymore, but I don't have a problem anymore, or an issue rather.
That's a good note. No, because that was also my ask. Within the vacuum, do you yourself did you yourself have a frustration, or was it surprising to hear that since you arrived here?
Well, no, I feel grateful. I feel grateful. I'm very excited about what is going on. I think that time is something that sometimes makes us feel like that, like, oh, it's like so many time, and nothing seems to pull in the right space, and it happens, it happens. That's why I developed that other calendar I share in the chat. Like to trying to get out of regular timing, because it's a perception. Time is not real. so, so we get into it, and we start to feel like time is less and less time to do things. But it's I don't really feel like that. I just like try to do what I can. We cannot do more than that. Like we're everybody is trying their best. I'm sure of it, and everybody is put what they have on the table, and it's about that, right? Is so.
And that way you also see that things all of a sudden culminate. All of a sudden, you look around and something is already done.
And I would call out when within the vacuum we were talking earlier, and I would kind of just were saying about like timing, and I think because creatives and music and stuff like that, like I was we're just slightly off beat right now. Like it always seems like when I try and sync up with somebody, they're just slightly off right now, and I learned like to just kind of let go and well, it's not always it's fluctuates within my own self too, but and I think this is what I said in dynamic energy budget one time is like we got to because we're coming up with she's doing the kernel pitch, right? And so I was like, for me it's about like thinking in cycles, because like you think it's like you're not going anywhere, but it's like a loop and a cycle, and change is like a horizon, and like this is what the process over the product is like, this long bubbling process of it. Like even what Dogas was saying, like when you're like in it, you're like the frog that's boiling. You can't see all of the dynamic connections and changes that are happening within your own like matrix network of your dynamic energy, right? Until like you stop and you reflect over that horizon and you see, oh shit, like all that stuff changed, and like all these little points like make me change in that point. And that's what I'm kind of like getting to, like with these like contact points, even with my own thinking. It's like these little points that radiate that energy, where the intersections, like what I was sharing within the vacuum of kind of like my own pitch for the mandala spores. It's an access point to start making meaningful novel connections to the transdisciplinary nature of the crypto-economic flower. When you make these connections and have these insights, you meant the spore insights, so you can weave a crypto-economic flower mandala narrative, a constellation of where your energy, interest, and curiosity intersect to create a access point within the crypto-economic flower. Grow your crypto-economic mycelial network. trigger insights and form a wisdom web of creative feedback. Because I think like later it's about like the feedback over time that you get with that network of exchanging your insights with other insights.
Wow.
Yeah.
Compounding value.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also about timing, like it depends from where's your point of, what is your perspective of it. To me, it is about a legacy. This kind of project, it probably will grow and grow and change over the time, and we're just like putting the first little pieces of it, but it will change. And it's about, for me, and on Web3 work, we are in this early stage, and it's all about a legacy. It's all about for future generations and people that will come and discover these, and right. So that's why I'm not worried about the time at all, because it's enough to put a little, like something into it.
I will say,
no, it's going really, really well too from that point of view. From this point of view, not are we finished with the library yet? But all of these insights that are coming together, and if now really I see it, that the next things I would like to focus is again help harvest. How can we make these visible? Right. I think that's the only thing, because this process is opaque to people who come from the on and off, for example, or who are not used to working like this, and that's the majority. It's very opaque. Like, how does it work? What are contact points and so on? But I think that's the one thing. You feel the beat, and then you jump in, and then you can learn. Again, it needs huge curiosity, right? And then also it needs learning and applying, getting practical, right? For example, for me, I've been testing many things and trying to get to the core of it. And yeah, I hope that in the dynamic energy budget, creative flow, that there we will find how do we visualize this at the very least, because it's going to be very hard to put in concepts or in a new, the new calendar. I think it's showing a direction, or what is the difference that could also be possible. But that's the big research that is going on, applied research, right? And if we could make that put that in a bit more concrete.
I can suggest a really concrete example.
Yeah.
There's a great YouTube video called "Build a Tower, Build a Team." It's a TED Talk by a guy who did this thing called the spaghetti test. But the thing is the meta version of that, because he's led hundreds of these things, is that this is all an iterative process, right? So what he sees is that like the worst performers in that spaghetti, building the tower of spaghetti with mushroom on top, the people who are the worst at that are recent business school graduates, right? And then CEOs are like 40% better if they have their admin assistant with them. And like there's just all this interesting stuff. But of course the best people at this are the engineers and people who've trained how to be architects and so on. But then the second best and the most creative are kindergartners, because all they do is iterate. They just iterate right away. So it doesn't require training, to iterate. All you have to do is try this thing, stick the mushroom on top. Did it work? Yeah. And then and just build another one and build another one and build another one. So that's why you'll notice all of my graphics are circular in nature, and assume that you're going to go through repeated iterations where it then would stack up over time into a spiral kind of foundation. So I got to go, guys, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. So also just one thing, I will be gone next week as well, so like not gonna make the calls, but I will try and as I mentioned, harvest after that, or take some time to really go through everything that happened and help put it together and also write about it, such that this progress that you've been making in the Conscience Library, also with the curation, that we all put it together, that it becomes visible, that we get to the version 1. The other part is, you know, all this wallet action and so on. I don't know if you have ever interacted with Gnosis chain and everything. If you need help with that.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, okay. So that's something that I've been also, you know, telling Mart that we need these. Okay, how do I, you know, contributing in open source is easy, but then how do I actually, how am I part of the process of getting this distribution and so on? That's, I will run after March, that we have that everyone knows how to connect where and what, and how to receive the wrapped XDAI tokens and what, how to unwrap them, and then maybe jump a few other hoops until you get there where you need them. And the other thing that I really want to take up in version 2, or in preparation for version 2, would also be, of course, the tokenomics, because that's what I can bring to the table. Yeah, so thanks again. Like, it's amazing. You heard from Manu that he's really, really impressed after seeing actually what has happened, and that proves the other point, that we have these beautiful collaborations and progress. But it's like, and Satori, you're creating these amazing videos, right? But we need to be communicating likely more in tech, and maybe also outside tech, because this library is going to be really, really great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Take good
Yeah.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.